I'd like to give all of you an update on where we are with our back to school planning and that process that we will be going through for the next couple of weeks to prepare us for the start of school on the Tuesday after Labor Day. So with that, everyone, I believe, probably understands we're in a lot of planning following the state guidelines. The state has told us to prepare 3 different types of plans. A return to school, which would be like our normal school day, but using social distancing and possibly wearing masks. That would be scenario 1. That would have relatively regular transportation, and it would be a fairly typical school day. In scenario 2, if public health determines that we have a level of an outbreak in our community, we would then adjust our schedules, and that is called a hybrid plan. And we're supposed to make a plan for each of our buildings. They might not be the same. We were trying to make them as consistent as possible, but we're working on that hybrid plan, somewhat of a combination of in-school, distance learning, and possibly a reduced schedule of in-school with distance learning as well. Again, those plans are being worked on as I've given you this speech. Also, the third plan that the state requires us to do is a distance learning plan. We're very similar to last spring, where students are at home and instruction is provided online. We're also in that plan looking at how we can improve if we are required by public health to go to that level of to stay out of school for that period of time. We would then try to improve our distance learning plan that we did last spring. So those are the 3 options that the state has told us that we need to prepare. We have spent this week working with our administrative team, coming up with multiple options in each one of those areas. The hybrid plan, as you might guess, is the most difficult one to determine. Next week, we meet with our teaching staff and our support staff and get their input and have them work with us to see what is the best plan to make that work. We also are putting out a survey to all of you as parents and community members to get some ideas of what you think about each plan. I know as of right now, we don't have enough details, but we need some input from you to help make minor adjustments as we're looking at those plans. And in the week of July 27th, we're also supposed to get a report from the governor outlining what we will be when we go back to school on that Tuesday after Labor Day. So a combination of things are taking place. We're working on all those. We're trying to get input. We have a safety committee because our primary concern in this is the safety of all of our students, and then the safety of those who are also in the building with as our teachers and other people that are in and out of our buildings. So those are the 3 plans that we're working on. By August 5th, we have a board special session, which we will be presenting to the board at that time our 3 different scenarios and what our recommendations would be if we are required to be in any one of those 3 by that public health. So with all of that, there's also a fair amount of adjusting to what happens when a student is test positive, what happens to when a parent tests positive, what happens to us when a teacher tests positive. And we have had an opportunity this summer with our summer recreation program and with our activities program to work with public health and follow guidelines for when outbreaks occur, how do we react to that, and how does each student what's the quarantine period? What is the testing period? So we've also asked for support from our local pediatrics group as well as CentraCare, and they will be on our safety committee and helping us make sure that what we're doing is following the safety protocols. As you probably are very aware of, there is a lot of politicalization of this whole process at this particular time. So we're trying to keep our head above water in terms of understanding what are the right things to do. And when we define right, safety has to be our #1 concern. But we desperately want our kids to be in school. As a school superintendent, as a grandfather, watching my grandkids, I know how much more they get from in-person learning than they get from being at home with their parents having to provide education at the same time that their parents are having to make a living. So we understand the importance of all of you in this process. We're, again, very thankful for all the work you did with us last spring. But we have to stay ahead of this pandemic, and we have to be planful for what may happen to us in the upcoming weeks. So with that in mind, I also, in the medical process, some people are under the misunderstanding that when we get anyone to be tested positive, that we will announce that. That is not something we can do. Our federal confidentiality in terms of the HIPAA laws, we can't release people's names. We're required to let people, when we are informed that someone in a group has been infected, we are required to talk to that person, and then public health is the one responsible for doing what they refer to as contact tracing and make sure that we follow up with that. We have all sorts of information on our website about our process that we're using for summer activities. We also have information on our website about you as parents to give you a little breakdown of each one of those things. The Department of Education has put that available to us, so we're putting it on our website. And we also have a little reminder on the website from the Department of Education about how you as parents, and I know this is a struggle, but you as parents need to plan for, if we're in school every day, what's your daycare going to look like? If we're in school 3 days a week, what would your daycare look like? If we're in distance learning and we're not in school at all, what would your daycare look like? And I'm sorry, I know how challenging that is to plan for those types of scenarios. I know that's difficult. My heart breaks for you, but we need to be planful. And what the state is telling us, we need to have plans as families, just like we do when we have a severe thunderstorm warning. What's your plan? If we have a fire in the house, what's your plan? So we're asking you to think of those things, develop a plan so you're prepared, because I think it's very likely that I'm hopeful that we start in school and a fairly typical schedule, but I think it's very probable that sometime during the school year, we're going to have groups of people who will not be available, who will have periods of time in which we're going to have to do other things. And so I want you to be prepared for that as we move ahead. So remember, our goal is to have our kids back in school. We want them in school, but at the same time, we need to make sure they're in a safe environment. And we want to make sure our teaching staff is in a safe environment. And we want to make sure that any of you who happen to come to our buildings are able to be safe. So those are our guiding principles. We're going to work on it. Please keep in touch with us. We're going to try to provide more information over the next few weeks. Thank you and good luck.